I met a new friend earlier this semester, and I'll admit it was a rather unusual friendship. We met here in the Twin Cities, and I'll admit we had some similar interests. He was especially interested in some of the studies that I was pursuing at Bethlehem College, and we had actually been introduced by one of my professors. This newfound companion and I would meet and talk together almost every week, meditating on and sharing the ways that the Lord was working in our lives. And it was a sweet, sweet time. Except, him and I didn't speak the same language, which necessitated some translation. Oh, and did I mention he was dead? You may have guessed by now that my newfound friend was none other than St. Augustine of Hippo. Of course, I had heard the name of the North African church father before. I had, after all, been sorted into the house bearing his name, and the biographical facts would be easy enough to obtain. Born in the 4th century, Augustine careened through a life of worldly fame and sensual pleasure before his conversion to Christianity. Yet God employed this poor prodigal in a mighty, mighty way for the kingdom of Christ. Augustine became a theologian, apologist, author, and pastor whose writings such as Confessions and City of God would prove enormously influential on centuries of Christian thought and practice. But before our sophomore class with Dr. Howard last semester, I didn't really know St. Augustine. And so, as we explored the life and thought of this gifted servant of God, something happened to me. Though I didn't realize it until later, God had reached across continents and centuries to give me a new friend in the faith. In the course of my walk of faith, I had been providentially placed alongside a more mature, wiser, much, much older saint with whom I might make the journey together. For this phrase captures the essence of Augustine's theology of friendship. True friendship is nothing less than a journey together, the shared pilgrimage of those who walk shoulder to shoulder seeking the living God. But why must true friendship always go Godward? In fact, in Confessions, the occasion for Augustine's detailed meditation on the nature of friendship comes when his pre-conversion self tastes some of the highest joys of worldly friendship and promptly loses them. You see, Augustine had experienced the incredible power of friendship firsthand, remembering the delight of a friendship between himself and a childhood companion. Augustine's dependence on this friend only increased as time wore on, and they talked and lived and studied alongside each other until nothing in all the world was sweeter to Augustine than this friendship. And yet, the sweet aroma of friendship soon turned to the nauseating fumes of a corpse. Augustine's friend died, and Augustine's sorrow, as you might imagine, was immense. But an older and wiser Augustine, recalling his great grief, finds much profit and instruction in his confession as he considers some key differences between worldly friendship and true friendship. On the one hand, Augustine acknowledges the incredible power of earthly friendship, the delights of friendship, learning together, laughing together, studying together, doing life together, in his words, and I quote, can kindle a blaze to melt our hearts and weld them into one. Is this not a wonderful, wonderful mystery? Perhaps even an echo of the Blessed Trinity, the perfect 3 in 1, each person somehow distinct, yet indivisibly one glorious God. These echoes of glory captivate us in friendship, as they captivated Augustine, but he also understood that we remain stubborn fools if our earthly friendships capture the highest affections of our hearts. Upon losing the friend whom he had come to depend upon so deeply, Augustine discovered firsthand that we can never, ever find full or abiding rest in any mere mortal. It's like trying to suspend a boulder from a net of cotton candy. Your heart's going to fall straight through. By grace, Augustine would eventually be led to the solid rock on which to rest his restless heart. The blinding power of sin would be broken, and the word of Christ would pierce Augustine with a sweetness far surpassing the gladness even of his former friendships. But what becomes of the enjoyment of friendship once we realize that genuine, abiding satisfaction must be found in God alone? In short, friendship is transformed from an inevitably disappointing destination and becomes instead a journey together toward rest and rejoicing in God. This is amazing. Augustine realizes that the gospel doesn't destroy the joys of friendship. The gospel renews them. Hear Augustine's confession, and I quote, "If your delight is in souls, love them in God, because they too are frail and stand firm only when they cling to him. If they do not, they go their own way and are lost. Love them, then, in him, and draw as many with you to him as you can. Tell them, he is the one we should love. He made the world, and he is not far from it." Don't you want this? The journey of faith is hard. Sometimes this path leaves us so tired. Don't you want to walk shoulder to shoulder with other Christians who will encourage you, who will remind you of God's words, brothers and sisters who will minister like Christ to you and to whom you can minister in return, friends who may in some ways be utterly unlike you and I, yet with whom we share Jesus Christ. Such a friend I've found in Augustine over the past months. I found a friend who understands some of my own weaknesses in an almost uncanny way. A friend who is certainly no stranger to the sorrows and struggles which harass the citizens of God as we plod through the city of man. But moreover, I found a friend who stands assured of the glorious purpose for which he was created and called by Christ. I found a friend who has been used by God to quicken my soul with glimpses of the glory of the life of the world to come. What a gift from God to get to journey together with St. Augustine over the past few months, and with him to find myself ever closer to the one from whom, for whom, and in whom every true friendship finds its only fulfillment. Praise and thanks be to the living God.